Hi everyone, it's Julia, and today I wanted to talk about the OT After Dark episode I just listened to with Andrew Gurza. He's the creator of the Disability After Dark podcast and the hashtag Disabled People Are Hot. And honestly, this episode was really eye-opening for me. It made me think a lot about how we kind of don't talk about sexuality in OT, even though it's such a big part of people's lives, like it's an occupation. So let's get into it. So Andrew started by sharing this story where he asked his OT about sex positions, and her face turned bright red, and you could tell that she was very uncomfortable. And honestly, it made me laugh a little, but also think wow, this is something that everybody is really awkward about and talking about. And that really shouldn't be the case because sexuality matters for independence and living a meaningful life, a fully meaningful, independent life. Andrew said he felt more comfortable asking this specific OT because she was closer to his age, and that made him feel like she could maybe relate more. And he said something that was really interesting, that he wishes he could work with the same OT throughout his life, so that he could build trust and talk about things like dating and parties and drinking or sex without feeling awkward. And I thought that was really important and really showed how powerful and important the relationship between a client and the OT is. Because I wouldn't want to share personal stuff if I wasn't comfortable with somebody else. One of my favorite things he said was work with disabled people, not for them. And I feel like that just really sums up OT in general. It's about collaborating with clients, not just telling them what to do, and making sure everything is accessible and easy to do for that client, and it may look different for other clients. He also talked about how sex is usually viewed from an able-bodied perspective, there's only one right way to do it, and if you can't do it that way, then you can't have sex at all. And that's really limiting and ableist, and I hadn't really thought about that before. He also mentioned that having more younger OTs or even trans or non-binary OTs could help clients feel more understood. And that makes sense because clients open up when they feel like somebody gets them or are comfortable with them. Andrew also talked about adaptive sex toys, which was something I'd never thought about before. But it's such a cool way to support independence and intimacy. He also talked about inspiration porn, which is when disabled people are used to make able-bodied people feel better about themselves, which also really made me think about how ableism can show up anywhere in any area, even in little subtle ways. He also said something that really hit me. He had to learn how to take his own clothes off, but not his partner's. And that made me think about how OT can touch every part of daily life, not just dressing or eating or mobility, but independence and confidence in intimacy too. Before this episode, I don't think I really thought about sexuality as a meaningful part of OT. I mean, I knew it was important, but I hadn't connected it back to therapy. And now I see that it's totally part of helping people live fully and have meaningful relationships. I'll be honest, if a client asked me something about sex right now, I'd probably have the same reaction as Andrew's original OT, probably get a little nervous and awkward, but this episode made me realize that if I'm uncomfortable, I have to think about how uncomfortable my client probably is too. So I really want to work on being open, professional, and not judgmental, because if it matters to them, it should matter to me too. Andrew even said at the end of the podcast, if you're an OT student, stand up in class and ask about sex. And he's right, this stuff doesn't get talked about enough, and it should, because it's a part of living and occupation. So my big takeaway from this episode is that sexuality is part of OT, and we need to include it in conversations. Everyone deserves to feel safe talking about it, and like Andrew said, not bore them with them. And that's something I'm definitely going to remember as I move forward in my OT career. So yeah, thanks for listening to my thoughts on this episode. It really made me think differently, and I'm super glad I listened to it. So see you guys later.